Okay, hello and welcome to this webinar on district cooling. I'm Ben Hickman from United Nations Environment Programme. We run an initiative promoting district heating and district cooling globally, and part of that initiative is raising awareness about district cooling. So we've set up this webinar series with the first topic about district cooling in the global south. Other topics will be about how residential district cooling can happen and some of the barriers and solutions, how it can benefit real estate developers and unlock new efficiencies in renewables and waste heat, the links to the Kigali Amendment, how actually to go about developing a district cooling project, and how cities can promote district cooling through local policies. So today we've got a very esteemed panel. So myself, Benjamin Hickman, I'll give you a quick overview, followed by Dr. Ala Alama, who is termed the godfather of district cooling in some circles and is helping writing the Egyptian district cooling code. Mr. Fu from Shenzhen City will present a district cooling project he's working on in China. Mr. Gaurang Patel from Gift City in India will present their district cooling system there. And Mr. Ahmad will hopefully speak, if he can join, talking about their work in Malaysia from the National Utility TNB. And then there'll be time for audience Q&A, so you can send questions in. So I can already see some questions, but throughout the webinar, you can send questions in and we'll try to answer them all at the end. So why are we focused on cooling at all? So this is something which is growing globally as an important topic. From today, there's 1.2 billion ACs in use, and by 2050, this number will reach 4.5 billion. So it's a huge environmental impact from this cooling, and also impacts that are felt related to grid stress and also urban heat island, etc. By 2050, that cooling demand could be responsible for 12 gigatons of CO2, which is about a quarter of all global emissions today. And it will consume 30% of all the electricity in buildings globally. So when you think about what that means in the hot countries, that's probably at least 50% of the electricity use in buildings. I'm based in Delhi working on our Indian program, and this is just a graph showing the current impact of cooling in Delhi. So this is last year. You can see the hottest day of the year, Friday the 8th of June, compared with a winter day, 1st of March this year. And the actual huge difference that you can see in the electricity demand is purely due to cooling, and it's attributed about 40% of the current peak load. So this has a huge cost impact on the local distributor, but of course it's also not great for the environment, and is using in India a lot of coal to produce this cooling for buildings. UN Environment is focused on a program trying to unlock the role of cities to handle cooling. This is because many of the impacts of cooling demand are felt in cities. So like I said, grid stress, blackouts that result from that. Cooling can use up a lot of water and contributes to urban heat island. And it's a major part of the your electricity bill at the end of the month is for cooling. Cities have the power to actually integrate multiple systems. So looking at how buildings, transport, water, power, how they can actually be integrated to increase efficiency. So cities have a lot of control over that, and they can actually influence the buildings that are being developed in the city. So using their planning permissions, they can actually make sure buildings use cooling in a sustainable manner. So if people don't know what district cooling is, I'll quickly run through it, but I think some of the other presenters will have their inputs on this. So here's a quick diagram showing basically district cooling is providing chilled water to buildings, replacing the ACs and chiller plants they have with an underground piping network. So we start with the district cooling plant. This will have a control room, a plant room, where you've got chillers, pumps producing very cold water around 4 to 5 degrees Celsius. And this is managed from the control center where they're dispatching this chilled water to the buildings. And in that plant room, you can also have thermal storage where we can chill water at night and release it during the day. So we don't have to use electricity during peak periods. Underground, we have a very insulated return and supply pipes that provide the chill water to each building. And this comes to your building through a heat exchanger. So that's the simple view of district cooling, but then actually what UNEP is promoting is how it can be done, incorporating different renewables and waste heat sources and starting to connect different customer groups which aren't typical for all district cooling, such as residential. And some of the benefits that we see from district cooling globally, and this is from real projects, are we can expect 30 to 50% reduction in CO2, and this can even rise to 100% if we use renewables. We can reduce the power demand for cooling by 30 to 50%, and again, even more if we're using tri-generation. We can shift peak load, and also we can unlock refrigerant, alternative refrigerants and renewables that can lower HFC emissions. And they often lower the cost of cooling to end users and reduce the amount of urban heat island. So it's proven globally, but a lot of the discourse is around projects that have taken place in Europe, in North America, in Singapore, in Japan. But actually there's a lot of projects going on in the global south that UNEP is connected with, and we want to share some of these examples globally, so that it's not just seen as a technology that can only be done in the richest of countries. So we're connected with projects in China, Colombia, Egypt, India, of course, where I'm based, Indonesia, Jordan, Malaysia, which is another one of our countries where we're working, the Philippines and the Seychelles, and Singapore and Thailand, of course. And this picture on the right-hand side you can see is actually one of the projects in Colombia, which is particularly innovative. It uses ammonia as the natural refrigerant, so cutting out all climate warming refrigerants from its use while saving energy as well. And just a little quip on the global initiative we're working on. So we're working across 14 countries currently, so you can see these here, where we're promoting district energy and working on developing projects, policies, raising awareness, and unlocking the national policy frameworks that can scale up district energy. So if you're listening from any of these countries, or if there is some countries you're listening from which aren't currently, we're not currently working in, then we'd like to hear from you. There's a lot of district cooling networks we're sure we're not aware of yet, and we'd like to hear more about them. And yes, so if you'd like to get in touch with the initiative, the website's there. And now actually I'd like to turn over to our first presentation, which is from Ala Ulama. So bear with me. Are you there?
كل حاجه مفيش فيها لا بتحصل حاجات طب احنا البلان بتاعنا دلوقتي عدد الفن كويس. المشكله ان تمويلنا ما يسمحش. احنا بالمنظر ده هنخش Dr. Ala? Dr. Ala Ulama? Hi, yes, we're having a little bit of difficulty hearing your audio. Could you by chance connect via phone call? ماشي. ماشي. Yes, we can hear you. 4 مليون في السنة في الشهر. فين؟ Dr. Ala Ulama, do you think you could try to connect via phone call, and then that way we can hear your audio a little bit better?
التسهيلات بتاعتنا هو حمدي طلب رفع التليفون يا حمدي شفت امبارح كده حتى بس الهوا بيتكلم
I think we're going to move on to our next speaker just while we wait for Allah to get ready. So let's move on to two. You're online now. Can you please commence your presentation?
可能刚刚那个没弄好。哦，可以。
Hello。
这是往下翻了是吧？
嗯。
Okay, please start, Mr. Tu.
OK。哎，各位好。
Yeah, we can hear you.
哎，各位好，我今天来给各位介绍一下深圳的前海区域供冷系统。主要讲4个方面。第一个呢，介绍一下简单介绍一下前海的概况。第二个呢，简单介绍一下我们前海区域集中供冷的一些基本情况。第三个是政府在集中供冷前的一些前期的规划。第4个是当地的一些政策介绍。
Okay, can we get the translation of that, please?
There are 4 slides of my introduction. The first one is the general information of Qianhai. The second one is the planning and construction of Qianhai district cooling system. The third, we talk about something about the planning research of Qianhai district cooling system. And then the last one talks some local policies of the government.
Okay, great.
在前海的基本情况。前海呢位于在中国深圳的西部，毗邻香港和澳门。
The Qianhai district is adjacent to Hong Kong and Macau.
它是位于这个前海的综合规划呢是在2010年的8月份获得国家的批复。
The overall development plan for the Shenzhen Hong Kong Modern Service Industry Cooperation Zone has been approved by the State Council of China on August 26 of 2010.
目前前海的主要定位为深圳市的城市新中心和粤港澳大湾区的核心。
Now, the Qianhai district is a new central area of Shenzhen and is also the core of Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau, and the Great Bay Area.
那么前海的这个区域的产业这个综合规划的特点呢，有4个方面。一个是低碳生态，还有是滨水个性、产城融合，还有就是紧凑集约。
There are 4 the general information of Qianhai, the features, there are 4 features for Qianhai district. The first one is the city with ecological intelligence, advanced no carbon. The second one is the district of water city. The third one, the city with vibrant industry. And the fourth, the city with efficiency and convenience. And also a city with compactness.
这个反应有点慢。对于前海的产业呢，主要集中在4个方面，一个是金融服务、信息服务业，还有就是科技服务和其他专业服务，另外是这个现代物流。
The industry type of Qianghai is financial services, modern logistical industry, information service industry, science and technology service, and other professional services.
对于前海的这个建筑规划呢，规模大概是建筑体量是2600到3000万平方米。
The construction size of Qianghai district is 26 to 30 million square meters.
建筑的业态主要以办公商业为主。
The building type is mainly office, business, apartment.
各种业态的这个占的比例呢，和这个有个图示。
The diagram of building type is just at the drawing.
接下来介绍前海区域功能的布局和规模。那么总的前海区域集中功能呢，规划建设10个冷站。
There are 10 district cooling stations of Qianghai district.
最大的供能能力呢是40万冷吨。
The maximum cooling capacity is 1.4 million USRT.
服务建筑面积大概是1900万平米。
The service building area is 19 million square meters.
全部的室外管网是90公里。
The cooling pipe network is 90 kilometer.
10个站的规划呢，这里有一个图表。
The cooling stations is just at the charts.
这张 PPT 呢显示目前的这个项目的规划建设的情况。
Refer to the slides. You can see the project construction process.
其中的2号站1期工程已经竣工，目前已经在运行。
The first phase of the number two cooling stations is already put into productions and in service.
另外有5号站和10号站目前正在施工当中。
The number 5 and number 10 cooling stations are in constructions.
其他的都在前期的都在做前期工作。
And the other stations are all in prepared.
2号站的运行情况。
Now let's talk about the operation conditions of number 2 cooling stations.
目前只有2个用户，负荷比较小。
Now there are only 2 end users, and the cooling capacities is not no.
在这个站呢，已经实现了全年365天，每天24小时不间断运行。
The service is 365 days for service and 2 hours one day online service can be supplied.
通过这2年的运行呢，这个用户的反应还是比较好的。
The feedbacks of the end user is very good of the 2 years service time.
第三一部分重点介绍一下这个前期的一些这个规划。
The third phase, let's talk about the planning research of Qianhai District Cooling System.
前海的政府就是前海管理局，在2014年做了几个专项的研究。
There are some research has been carried out by Qianhai authorities in 2014.
第一个呢是系统可行性研究报告。
The first one is systematic analysis of energy saving and
是这个。那么这个研究呢是通过一些案例，通过这个分析传统的供冷系统和区域集中供冷系统的这个比较。
Based on the investigation of classical cases and the systematic analysis of energy saving and economic comparison between the decentralization system and the DCS, the DCS of Qianhai is proved feasible.
然后这个结论是在前海实施集中供冷系统是可行的。
The conclusion is the DCS of Qianhai is feasible.
在节能和减排方面都有优势。
The advantage of energy saving is very obvious.
第二个呢是这个系统的规划布局方案的研究。
The second one is Qianhai DSC planning and layout scheme.
那么这里面就把冷站的10个站的选址和管网的布局确定下来。
In this report, the layout of the cooling station has been set out.
就按照这个念。另外一个研究呢就是这个技术的标准和技术标准的研究。
The third research is Qianhai DSC technical standards and design guidelines.
第四个是对于定价和成本的分析。
The fourth research is Qianhai DSC price fixing and price adjustment mechanism research report.
然后得出了建议采用基本费加使用费的收费模式。
Based on this report, we can conclude the model of basic fee plus usage fee of the DCS in Qianhai is obtained.
第5个的研究呢是叫建设与运营方案可行性研究。
The fifth study is feasibility study report on construction and operation plan.
来一点这个。第5一部分简单介绍一下我们这个当地的政府的政策。
The fifth, let's talk about the local policies of the government.
第一个呢，当地政府会出台一个管理办法。
The management regulations of DCS has been formulated.
那么这个办法呢是约定了主管单位和实施单位的职责。
The regulations stipulated the orientation of governments and users, rights and duties, price fixing and principles.
然后还有一个是约定了这个供冷的范围，就是什么样的建筑需要采用集中供冷。
And it also stimulated what kind of buildings is applied for a district cooling system.
第二个呢是政府会出台一个监督管理细则。
And also the supervision department, the Qianhai Authority, will implement supervision mechanism and visitor them.
这个监管部门是对这个供冷的服务质量实行监督，还有包括的监督机制和退出机制。
They will supervise the quality of DCS service.
那么监管的内容主要是从市场准入、退出、价格、质量、安全、社会监督等几个方面。
The government will also supervise market access, exist, price, quality, safety, social supervision.
另外一个政府的对集中供冷的支持，就是政府承担了市政供冷管网和供冷站站房的这个投资。
The other support by the government is in order to reduce the financial burden of end users. The Shanghai Authority undertaking part of the investment of district cooling system.
这部分政府承担投资呢，没有进入这个供冷的成本。
The investment undertaken by government is not included in the investment cost.
这样呢，降低了用户的财务负担。
In this ways, it reduces the financial burden of end users.
好，以上简单介绍。
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, this is all of my short information of my introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fu and translator. Apologies to some of the participants that there was the double translation, but there's a lot of Chinese cities that are joining. So we've had to have the double translation. Some of the questions that have come through we'll provide to Mr. Fu, and they'll be able to provide the answers either in this webinar or we'll send them out. And yes, the webinar will be recorded and the presentations provided. Next, I'd like to invite Mr. Gaurang Patel, who is Deputy Managing Manager of Gift City. So Gaurang, I've just passed the controls over to you, and I'm unmuting you.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Good afternoon. So I'm going to brief you about the India's first district cooling system at Gift City. Let's start with the first is what is GIFT basically. The GIFT stands for Gujarat International Finance Tech City. GIFT is India's first IFSC and operational smart city. And basically it is developed as going to be developed as a global financial and IT hub. And because of its importance in terms of the financial hub, it is planned to develop in equivalent centers. It is going to be the Gift City will be developed in the area of 886 acres, and this area is divided into multi-service SEZ with IFSC and domestic finance centers. Gift City has developed its first phase of world-class infrastructures that includes the district cooling system, which is implemented first time in India, underground utility tunnels, which is again a unique USP of the Gift City, automated waste collection system, and few more. If I see the city, this is what we are having kept a vision for the Gift City. The 886 acres of the Gift City will be having a total built-up area of 62 million square feet. Now, when I talk about district cooling, if I need to do air conditioning of this 62 million square feet, I will be requiring a tonnage capacity of something around 270,000 ton. And if I go for non-district cooling system, I will say the central system for each building, I may be requiring electrical power for maybe in the range of 240 megawatt for the air conditioning of 270,000 ton. Now, being such a city, this city has the residentials, the commercials, the social hubs, the malls, and other variety of use. If I go for district cooling system, what will be the impact? So, for the requirement of 270,000 ton of low side requirement of the building users, I just need to have a plant installation of 180,000 ton only, because I will be having a bigger diversity because of the central plant for the entire city. And here my power requirement will straightforward come down from 240 megawatt to 150 megawatt. And this is almost a 35% saving into power requirements. And this is only a driving force for any city or any government to take a decision for the DCS one. Because here you are reducing down your power requirements, power generation setups, the transmission setups, the requirement of fossil fuels, the generation of CO2, everything will reduce down. Now, this was one of the reasons why we went for district cooling system at GIFT City and in India first time. Now, again, we had done some optimization into DCS because as we know everyone, and also Benjamin has given his opening remark that TS tank. So we are also using a TS tank with our plant. And so we are having a thermal energy storage tank, which will going to take care of the peak loads, that is between 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. They will be charged during the off-peak hours and discharged during the peak hours. So in that case, I need not to have a chiller capacity for 180,000 ton. It will be lesser than that one, in the range of 75% of the peak load. So our combination will be for the GIFT City will be 150,000 ton of chillers and 30,000 ton by TS tanks, and 30,000 ton that is for 4 hours. So roughly we need around 120,000 ton hour of TS tank capacity when we do our entire city cooling. Now, looking to the figures, it seems very good. We must go for DCS, but there are some challenges associated with the DCS which we need to plan very cautiously when we decide to go for DCS. These are some of the challenges we encountered while developing the GIFT district cooling system at GIFT. The demand assessment. When you go for a city level development, the demand assessment, it is not the case that 180,000 ton what we envisage is going to come into one day. The city will develop it at its own speed, and we need to develop our infrastructure in the similar space only. The planning in line with the city development, the flexibility in the plant design. This is very essential component because you won't be able to do construction of plant in a single day, and if you do a small plant on a day one, and after 2 years you're going to augment the capacity, you won't able to do a shutdown for the plant you started. So whenever you do a first plant design, you need to do a planning in such a way that whenever you go for augmentation, it will be without any disturbance to current users. The optimization of piping network is very essential because that is the key behind where you can save the energies and how best way you can give the services to your users. Physical infrastructures for current and future scenario that you need to keep in your mind, because whenever you do any physical construction of your either is a plant or you are laying your pipeline, you need to consider what will be the future scenario, what is your ultimate capacity. Optimization of plant energy consumptions. This is you need to do a lot of engineering when you do your plant design, because you every energy you save, that benefit will pass on to your users. They can save money and they will be benefited in terms of capital investment into DCS. And the last and very important is the user satisfaction. If the users are satisfied, they will go for DCS because they are able to save their own money as well as the global effect also. In GIFT City, for the 180,000 ton, what we done in the planning one is we divided the requirement into 3 different plants. That is 60,000 ton of each, and there will be these 3 plants are located into 3 different locations of the city, such that we will be having an optimum network of piping, and these 3 locations will be interconnected. These 3 plants will be interconnected with each others. So in any case, conditions, due to mechanical reasons or electrical reasons, any plant goes down, we will be having a redundancy with the help of remaining 2 plants. So that area served by any of the plant will be served by the remaining 2 plants. This is the first place development DCS has done, GIFT has done. We are having a first plant of 10,000 ton with 10,000 ton hour of TS tank. we have laid the DCS still water networks of 4 kilometers, which is operational right now. And the pipeline is laid under utility tunnels. You can see in the pictures, the DCS pipes are laid in a utility tunnel. This is again, I think, first of its kind installation. And the red line you can see in the pictures is going to be an underground tunnel for the entire city. This tunnel carries not only a district cooling pipes, it carries all other utilities required for the any municipal corporations. These are some of the photographs of our plant, pump rooms, the TS tanks. What exactly benefit we are taking from the DCS? Because when we do a good engineering, one of the benefit I had shown you, you can reduce down your power requirement straightforward. Apart from that one, by use of high COP chillers, with the help of you can save energy, high temperature, different still water temperature, you can reduce down your pipe size and your pump powers. VFD for chillers, VFD for cooling towers. Very essential is a pre-insulated chill water piping, because that is very because the chill water network is quite huge when you go for the DCS system. So you need to save your every energy loss with the help of a good insulation material. We are using eco-friendly refrigerants, and water used for cooling towers, we are using a STP recycled water. So we are not using any fresh waters. We are using STP recycled waters. So we are going on low energy consumptions, low water consumption, use of recycled waters, minimum impact of refrigerant on the environment. And then ultimately we are able to reduce down CO2 and reduce down the environmental impact. But one of the very essential part when you are using the DCS, the indirect benefit what we are getting is you are reducing down the heat island effect. Because nowadays using air conditioning is not a luxury, it's a necessity for everyone. So if you see any typical cities, you'll find everyone using a DX system. So they cool their interior spaces and they throw out heat in the exterior areas, and ultimately our city is getting warmer and warmer day by day. But when we go for district cooling system, you will be able to have heat rejection at your plant location only, and that is not at every location. It is a 2 or 3 location into a city. And most important, you are not throwing out heat in terms of sensible load. You are throwing heat in terms of the E operations. So you're not directly adding the heat into your atmosphere, but you are you're rejecting heat in terms of the natural process, that is evaporation process. So that helps cultivating a good atmosphere for futures to come. So this was a small brief about the GIFT DCS system. This is India's first plant of its kind. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Gaurang. That was really interesting. And so I think we've received a few questions, and I think while you're on the line, if it's okay, we'll just put a couple of those questions to you. Is that okay?
Yep.
Yeah. So one of them is from Sandeep Dahia, and he says, what kind of water treatment system do you use for STP water?
What kind of?
Water treatment system.
For STP?
Huh.
Basically, I am much expert on DCS side. For STP, I need to consult my water department, because they are looking after the STP.
Okay. And then another question from Sandeep is, what are the charges like for the end user? Are they fixed and variable, or how do you do that?
Basically, we are having a 2 component similar to like that of electrical charges in the Gujarat and in the India. There are one of the fixed component and one is a variable component. The fixed component is called as a demand charges, based on what demand you are asking for. Whether I'm asking for 500 ton, I am asking for 100,000 ton. So that is one is a demand charge factor will be there. That is will be a fix every month, and there will be a variable component will be there, which will be based on how much turnover you are using. So we will be having a BTU meter at every building. They measures the what amount of consumptions you are taking, how many thermal unit you have consumed, and on that number of units you will be charged. So there will be 2 components: demand charge and consumption charge.
Great. Okay, thanks for answering those. There are some other questions, but hopefully we'll have time at the end. Now I'd like to move on to Dr. Ala Alama, who's going to talk about some of the projects in Egypt. So, Ala, I have unmuted you, and I can make you the presenter as well.
Thank you.
Ala, do you want to share your screen, or shall I show my screen with your presentation?
My screen has my presentation on it. If you want to share.
Yeah, I've shared it. So you're the presenter. Now? Not yet.
Okay.
You have to accept.
sudah so. Belum maru presentation itu, just seperti.
Hello.
Okay. Yeah, if not, I think I'll make myself presenter and show your PowerPoint, and you just tell me when to change, okay?
All right.
Okay. So just tell me when to change slides.
All right. Okay, let's go to content, please. Next one, please. Okay. Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to talk to you about the Egyptian experience and what is the status of district cooling in Egypt. This is the first slide. Just shows the idea that with district cooling, you are producing cooling in a central plant and then distributing the chilled water to various buildings, and you are calculating what sort of energy you're supplying to each building through a mechanical room where an energy meter is installed and heat exchanger and so forth. So this is the general idea. Next one, please. Next slide. Yeah, thank you. This is on this slide. I'm showing a plant that has, well, the one before that, please. The one before that, then. Yeah. On this slide, I'm showing a sort of new design for a district cooling plant where you'll have, next one, please. Where you'll have, the next one, Ben. Where you'll have a plant consisting of 3 different floors. The blue floor, the actual chillers are installed in it. And then the one over it is where the plants are, and then the top floor has a structural cooling as a cooling tower. Now, the question is whether the yes, the question is whether the actual district cooling is suitable for states that are not yet developed completely. Is it a good idea to have district cooling or not? What I wanted to show you here is an example of the Middle East. In the Middle East, the GCC country, which is the Gulf Cooperation Council country, at 2010, their total requirement
I think we've just lost Ala's audio. Please just bear with us.
إن أنا فتح معاهم الموضوع.
We can hear you.
أكيد هو إن الراجل يميل
Okay, sorry, just bear with us while we get Ala back. Okay, I think we've lost Ala. Just give us one more minute, otherwise we'll go through his presentation.
Hi, Dr. Allah. Could you please try to enter the audio pin that you've just received in your phone?
Harper, I think it's fine now.
Enable audio control.
Yes, it's
Hello?
connecting now. Okay.
Hello, we can hear you.
Hello, I'm with you.
Yep, we hear you.
Okay, very good. I'm talking about in the Middle East, for instance, you'll find that there are certain capacities at the moment of 36 million tons of cooling, but this is increasing threefold by 2030. So the reason for the great demand that's going to happen in the Middle East, because of the affluence and because of the growing population, it is important to look at district cooling as part of the solution for providing cooling. So if we look at the next slide, we find that at the moment in Saudi Arabia, for instance, the district cooling is only 1% of the total cooling expected, of 51 million. But the potential for district cooling is 25%, quite a sizable one. Although there is 74% that are still going to use normal DX and chilled water cooling, the increase in district cooling is huge, 25%. In the United Arab Emirates, already existing district cooling constitute 11% of the total demand. And the potential is the greatest in the Middle East, it's 39%, and so on and so forth. So if you look at the potential for district cooling in our areas, it's 25% for Saudi Arabia, 39% for UAE. In Qatar, it's 42%. In Bahrain, which is a small country, it's about 25%, and 26% for Kuwait, and 26% for Oman. So the idea is district cooling is a good solution, and it will probably have the most important effect on providing cooling for the area. Now, the problem with district cooling in a part of the world is that there are subsidies in the price of electricity. So if we look at the next slide, please, you'll find that there is a perception that district cooling perhaps might not be beneficial. But if you look at the graph, which is on the left, you'll find that the cutoff point where the cost of district cooling is equal to the cost of conventional cooling will constitute a certain density of cooling. This is without the existing subsidies. If the subsidies are in place, as it is the case in the majority of those countries at the moment, then the perceived cutoff point goes to the right more. So the density is increased. At the moment, for instance, for Egypt, to get a good district cooling project, you have to have about 8,000 to 10,000 tons per square meter. It becomes unviable. The cutoff point is 8 to 10,000 tons of cooling per square meter. But the subsidies are being removed in the majority of the area in the Middle East and North Africa. So the cutoff point is moving more and more towards the left. It's coming back to the graph on the left. It should cut off at 5,000 tons per square meter, not the current 8 to 10,000 tons. Next one, please. Now, what is diversity of use? The district cooling becomes very competitive and become very economical if you've got several applications that are needing cooling at the same time, or in the same district rather than at the same time. So for instance, look at this graph, which is a typical daily cooling load demand profile for several applications. The black one is the administration application, where cooling actually is more needed towards late afternoon, where everybody is back in place and the sun is shining and heat is at its utmost. While for a residential application, those different demand vary. There is a demand in the morning before people go to work, and then there is a slack in demand, and another call for demand late afternoon where everybody is coming back to have their dinner at home. This is the blue curve. If you look at the red curve, which is retail, in the morning, there is very little demand. But while people are going out in the afternoon and the evening, either to have lunch in the afternoon or to have the evening for entertainment, then the demand is most higher. Now, if you combine all those curves together, you'll find that the aggregated curve, in the next slide, please. This aggregated curve will actually constitute much less than the numerical sum of each of those three applications if you sum them together. It might well be only, on average, maybe 60 to 70, in this case it's about 75% of the total of all the other applications put together. Now this is the advantage of district cooling. Not only does the sum of all the cooling is much less in the end than the numerical sum of each, the other advantage is that you actually can store energy if you operate on a constant average load all across the day, and then use this energy at on-peak time, where it's most needed. So your plant can be much smaller than a plant that would use different loads put together. Now, this is another example of how complicated a daily cooling profile can be. You would have, for instance, in this case, you'll have more than 6 or 7 applications. The more the mix, the more efficient your district cooling system. Next one, please. Now, the case for Egypt, I've chosen the first district cooling plant that was made in Egypt. It is a district cooling and heating system in Smart Village. In Smart Village, the location is in Giza near the pyramids, and it's a plant that has 24,000 tons of cooling. In this plant, we've used 2 different types of cooling systems. One is an absorption system operating with natural gas, and the second one is a system operating with electricity. This is because of the cost of electricity and gas at the time the plant was built was varying all the time. So we have 12 chiller absorption and 2 centrifugal chillers. Next one, please. Next slide, please. Now, the district cooling system is built on and operates for 20 years, and the system is actually operational for about 22 million tons hour per year. The chilled water temperature is 7.7 degrees C supply, and 13.3 ton supply return, and supply 5.6, while the delta T is 7.7 degrees C. The system consists of 14 primary pumps, each one 90 kilowatts, and a horizontal split case, and the 9 chilled water pumps, each one is 200 kilowatts, and all pumps are variable speed. Next one, please. Now, the cooling tower are put on a separate building next to the station. There are 14 cooling towers, and each one has a capacity of 6,400 kilowatts. The cooling tower delta P is about 5 degrees. Okay, next one, please. The chilled water system is actually a 4-pipe system. There are 2 chilled water piping network existing, and another 2 hot water piping, and both are operating in the same time, so that you can control humidity if you want to control humidity all across the year. The total piping network length is 51 kilometers, and the largest header is 48 inches. There are 3 branches, A, B, and C. C is divided into C1 and C2, and all the piping material is carbon steel pre-insulated. Next one, please. This is the pumping, chilled water pumping arrangement. It's called primary, secondary, tertiary. Those are where pumps exist in the primary pump in the station itself, secondary pump, variable speed, and tertiary pump at each building. Next one, please. This is a picture of inside the plant showing the absorption chillers. Next one. Again, an absorption chiller from another perspective. Next one, please. And this is the extensive piping network. It's 51 kilometers in length, and it's quite a big one, and it serves 61 buildings, and all buildings are operational. Next one, please. This is the cooling towers on the separate building. Next one. And this is the mechanical room inside the building, showing the tertiary pump. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ala. That was extremely interesting as always. Hopefully you can just stay on the line quickly. We have a few questions that have come up.
Sure.
First question I want to bring up is from Brahmanand Mahanti, who says that if you use district cooling with grid electricity, you won't be as efficient as standalone air conditioning systems. And that you can only do district cooling if you have waste heat from a power plant. Is that true? And why is grid connected district cooling more efficient in your opinion?
Okay, that's a question for me, Ben, isn't it?
Yes, please. Yeah.
All right. The most efficient district cooling system is a not-in-kind district cooling system, where you would use waste heat or cooling coming from a source that is renewable. This is definitely the most efficient and durable district cooling system. But depending on the price of natural gas or electricity, the district cooling system, if you have the right density, that is, if you have the right user of district cooling, and the density is over the two figures that I mentioned earlier, then it is usually quite beneficial. But of course, you have to do your financial analysis. You have to assume certain tariffs, connecting tariffs, operating tariffs, or consumption tariffs, and consumption and fixed tariffs, and see how it compares with the systems that the customer buy himself. But as a rule, a system with a high density is always beneficial when it is made in district cooling.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I know a lot of the systems in the UAE, for example, use grid-connected electricity, and they're able to deliver great efficiencies. Another question for you, Ala, that's come from Sandeep Dahia. He's asking if in Egypt you use energy transfer stations, and earlier when you said 8,000 tons per square kilometer, is it per square kilometer or per square meter?
Right, it's per square kilometer. In other words, if you got a district which is 1 kilometer in length and 1 kilometer in width, then 8,000 tons density per square kilometer would make a district cooling system successful, whether it's with electricity operated or natural gas or whatever. Now, if you can use direct connection system as an interface between a user and the supplier, or you can use an indirect connection. Both systems are successful. It depends whether the district is fully developed or not. If the district is fully developed, then possibly using heat exchanger is the best application. But if it's not fully developed and you expect to have customers coming at a later date, then using direct connection is a better approach.
Great. So I'm going to take just two more for you, Ala. So there's one from Ashish Vaishnaw. He's asking if in Egypt there are special tariffs for gas or power specifically for district cooling.
Hello, Mr. Vaishnav. I know Mr. Vaishnav very well. He's a very old friend and a valuable one. No, there is no special tariffs for district cooling. District cooling pays the same tariff as everybody else. But we are now at a stage where a new law is being enacted that will follow the Egyptian code for district cooling, that will give a sort of beneficial treatment for district cooling in other ventures, like bankability, for instance, like public and the sector and other authority giving preferential treatment for district cooling because of its economic benefits.
Okay, and last question, Ala. This is from Abhijit Rajguru. Have you ever encountered low delta T syndrome associated with district cooling when you're serving multiple customer groups? And if so, how did you take care of it?
Unfortunately, too often. The bane of district cooling is low delta T syndrome, and there isn't a system that I've encountered that was totally free of low delta T syndrome. Low delta T syndrome has to be dealt with at the very inception of district cooling and has to be treated very carefully because it tends to make a system sink totally because of the excessive payment of electricity for the pumping that you are using once you have this syndrome, and because you can't reach the total capacity. The way to deal with it is to have control of the tertiary pump as a provider of district cooling, and to make sure that the control protocol inside the building are followed to the letter. And it's an ongoing struggle. It doesn't finish in a day or two.
Okay, thanks so much, Ala. I think that's all the questions we've got for you, so thanks again. I'm just going to bring on Mr. Gorang from Gift City. So there was one question or a couple of questions from different participants. Main one that's coming is, why didn't Gift City consider gas tri-generation?
Basically, the tri-generations with the help of gas generator and using the absorption chillers, again the economics comes into play because in the early stage of the time we had done some analysis, and as such the gas costing with the costing which is we are getting with the help of gas pricing, it was much higher than the direct electrical supply which we are able to get from the grid. So in our conclusion was the grid power is cheaper than the gas power.
Okay, thanks very much. Another question which came was, why are you using HFC refrigerant, and could you have used natural refrigerants instead?
Natural refrigerants are nowadays getting a popular one, but when we talk about such a big capacity of like our chillers, what we install at the first stage, each chillers are having a capacity of 5,000 ton, which are of series counterflow series, and this kind of big installations with natural refrigerants are not available as of now. Natural refrigerator, I agree, is a good choice, but we need to look into in terms of the availability of the technology to serve the district cooling system, because we can't serve district cooling system with the help of smaller chillers. We need to have a big capacity chillers.
Yeah, so that actually segues nicely into the final part of our webinar, which is just to present to you that actually this is just the first of many webinars that we're going to be hosting, and this topic of natural refrigerants and whether district cooling can use them will be within our fifth one on district cooling in the Kigali Amendment, where we'll hear from some of the different cities globally that are using natural refrigerants like ammonia, or some cities which are instead opting for renewables, which can, like using waste heat from waste incinerators, so that they don't have to use some of these climate warming refrigerants. So stay tuned for that. In about 2 weeks' time, and we'll send out the invitation, we'll host a webinar on connecting residential buildings to district cooling. I'm based in India, and this is one of the questions we get from cities a lot here. It is possible, but it's difficult. So we'll look through some of the barriers and the solutions that some of our partners globally present to us. And I'd just like to finish by thanking all of our speakers, and especially our supporting partners, Copenhagen Center and ICLE. The District Energy and Cities Initiative is working globally, and if you'd like to connect with us to share your experiences or to get involved in any of our countries, please contact us and look at the website as well. So thank you very much, everyone, and we'll share the presentations and recording on our YouTube channel. Thank you very much.